engage consistently.
The top diplomats from the US and UK have given an extraordinary interview to Goobjoog television to discuss Somalia's controversial elections.
Both publicly and privately, both bilaterally and...
Colleen Crenwelge, the U.S. Embassy chargé d'affaires in Mogadishu, represented Washington.
We emphasize those points and will continue to press all parties.
UK Ambassador Kate Foster offered London's perspective.
Elections that ultimately are acceptable to...
Abdiaziz Gorbia conducted the interview for Goobjoog. Crenwelge started off by talking about how the U.S. has tried to engage all parties to move the election forward. She said that Washington and other partners have teamed up to provide substantial polling funding. She concluded saying there is enough money available to finish the voting.
To date, we, the United States, have contributed more than $2.5 million to a basket fund, let's call it, that is run by the UN. And we're considering providing additional funding to fill an outstanding gap that was identified by the Office of the Prime Minister. We're partnering with the UK and with Norway to consider that additional funding, and we'll provide that support if we see meaningful progress in the House of the People elections and full transparency in the collection and use of candidate registration fees.
Foster admitted to frustration with the delay in balloting, which was to take place by the end of December last year.
Every Somali that I talk to tells me how deeply frustrated they are with the delays to the process. And I think we share that concern. And primarily that's because it means that there is lots of attention from ourselves as donors and the international community and the government and at federal member state level that is focused on the elections, and it is distracted from dealing with the significant needs of the Somali population. As we know, last week the Prime Minister declared a state of emergency drought, and there are many challenges that people are facing in the fight against Al-Shabaab.
The pair were asked about charges that polls that have already been completed have been conducted unfairly.
We in the United States government also are promoting transparency by supporting election observation. We are supporting a coalition of 7 Somali civil society organizations who have been able to observe the upper house process. We've trained 60 observers, half of them women, and they've been able to visit polling stations, observe voting, and meet with traditional elders, candidates, security forces, and others. And they issued a public statement on November 16th noting weaknesses in the upper house process where they observed them.
Foster identified key points that should be followed, including candidates knowing who the voting delegates are so they can communicate with them. She also expressed concern that violence could follow the polls if they are not transparent and credible.
Those two issues go hand in hand. If you don't have a credible process, you are more likely to lead to conflict. And it is something that I think is incumbent on the leaders of this country to ensure that we don't see a repeat of some of the violence that we saw earlier this year and the large displacement of tens of thousands of people from their homes.
Any conflicts that might arise or emerge should be resolved through peaceful means and should be resolved through dialogue. No one should want to see violence.
The U.S. signaled it will be reconsidering support for Danab.
The U.S. diplomat was asked about U.S. support for Danab special forces after federal troops pitched in to the fight against the Sufi anti-Shabaab fighters Ahlu Sunnah wal Jamaa in Galmudug.
Our review of our support to the Danab is ongoing. We provide training and support to the Danab to advance our shared objective of defeating Al-Shabaab, and we want to ensure our support is being used appropriately and in line with U.S. policy. We continue to urge, speaking of the Goriel conflict, we continue to urge Somali government authorities and Ahlu Sunnah to engage in dialogue to peacefully resolve the conflict.
Foster, who has experience working in a number of African countries and developing nations across the world, was asked to compare Somalia to the other situations she has seen.
Security is important because it provides the pathway towards development for a country. It's the thing that allows girls and children to go to school. It is the stability that provides the opportunity for business and the private sector to come in and invest and to provide jobs and opportunities.
Her American counterpart added her views on what priorities are needed in Somalia.
I've been really impressed in my time here with the entrepreneurial spirit that I see in many Somalis, the vibrancy, the desire for education and for opportunity. And it is our hope to be able to support that.
The two female diplomats stressed the need for women to be elected to government.
I think there is a female candidate for president for the first time, which is really exciting to see, to have that female voice at that level.
Somalia has pledged to meet 30% women's participation in the legislature. ADN TV will continue to report on diplomatic and electoral developments in Somalia.